Legends in the Stars commander Zethkai tapped his long blue fingers against the metal desk as he read the latest battle report. The numbers were getting worse. 3 more colonies lost to the Void Swarm in the past month. The enemy ships kept coming, black and twisted things that moved like hungry insects through space. His species, the Alterians, had been part of the Galactic Confederation for over 2,000 years. They were smart, peaceful, and good at making deals with other alien races. The Confederation was made up of 43 different species from across the galaxy. They traded with each other, shared technology, and kept peace through the Council of Worlds. But the Void Swarm was different. These creatures did not want to trade or talk. They only wanted to eat. They consumed entire planets, turning everything into more ships for their fleet. The Swarm learned from every battle, changing their tactics to counter whatever the Confederation tried. Zethkai pushed the report away and rubbed his tired eyes. The Confederation fleets were losing badly. Their ships were fast and their weapons were powerful, but the Swarm just kept adapting. Every time they thought they had found a way to win, the enemy changed and became stronger. "Sir." His assistant, a small green alien named Pip, entered the room. "The Council wants to see the casualty reports." "Of course they do," Zethkai sighed. "Tell them the same thing I told them yesterday. We need new ideas, not more meetings." Pip nodded but did not leave. "Sir, there is something else." The research teams found some old files in the archives. Really old files, Zethkai looked up. The Confederation kept detailed records going back thousands of years. Most of it was boring trade agreements and diplomatic notes. But sometimes they found interesting things. "What kind of files?" "Stories, sir. Very old stories about a warrior species called humans." Zethkai almost laughed. He had heard those stories before. Every species in the galaxy had legends about the mysterious humans. They were supposed to be amazing fighters from a dangerous world. The stories said they could survive anything and never gave up in battle. "Pip, those are just myths. Old stories that got passed around from ship to ship. There are no such things as humans. But sir, these files are different. They have coordinates. A star system called Sol. And there are technical reports, not just stories." Now Zethkai was interested. He had studied galactic history for many years. The early records from when different species first met each other were often mixed up with legends and myths. But technical reports were different. "Show me," he said. Pip placed a data pad on the desk. The screen showed star charts and location data. There were also what looked like ship designs, but they were strange. The ships in the files were made of heavy metal and used primitive weapons. No energy shields or plasma cannons, just thick armor and projectile weapons. "This is very old," Zethkai said, reading the dates. "Over 1,000 years old." "Yes, sir." "And look at this." Pip touched the screen. A new section appeared. It was a report from a Confederation scout ship. The report talked about finding a solar system with intelligent life, but the species was too dangerous to contact. Zethkai read carefully. The report described bipedal creatures that lived on a world full of deadly weather, dangerous animals, and natural disasters. The planet should have killed any life form, but instead it made the inhabitants incredibly tough and adaptable. "They quarantined the entire system," Zethkai said, surprised. "Why would they do that?" "The report says the species was too aggressive and unpredictable. They fought wars against each other constantly and turned everything into weapons. The Council decided it was safer to leave them alone." Zethkai kept reading. The more he learned, the more interesting it became. These humans were described as creative problem solvers who never followed normal battle tactics. They used surprise attacks, fought dirty, and never surrendered even when losing badly. "Sir," Pip said quietly, "what if the stories are true? What if humans are real?" Zethkai thought about it. The Confederation had tried everything against the Void Swarm. Their best generals, their most advanced weapons, their smartest battle plans. Nothing worked. The enemy just kept learning and getting stronger. Maybe they needed something different. Something the Swarm had never seen before. He looked at the star charts again. The Sol system was far from the main trade routes. It was in a quiet part of the galaxy where few ships ever traveled. If humans really existed, they would have been isolated for over 1,000 years. "Get me Admiral Korth," Zethkai said. "I want to talk to someone about sending a scout mission." "To the Sol system?" "Sir, are you sure?" Zethkai stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the Confederation fleet preparing for another battle against the Swarm. The ships were beautiful, with smooth curves and gleaming hulls. They looked like works of art floating in space, but art did not win wars against monsters. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over while expecting different results, he said. We keep fighting the same way and keep losing. Maybe it is time to try something completely different. He turned back to Pip. Set up the meeting with Admiral Korth and get me everything we have on this Sol system. If there really are humans out there, we need to find them. But sir, what if they are as dangerous as the old reports say? Zethkai looked at the casualty numbers on his desk. Millions dead. Dozens of worlds consumed. The Void Swarm was winning and the Confederation was running out of time. Then maybe dangerous is exactly what we need. Over the next few days, Zethkai gathered more information. The old archives contained fragments of data about human technology and culture. Most of it was hard to understand because it was so different from standard galactic civilization. Humans apparently lived on a world where almost everything tried to kill them. Extreme weather, deadly animals, diseases, and natural disasters were normal parts of life. Instead of making them weak, this made them incredibly tough and resourceful. Their technology was different too. While most galactic species focused on energy weapons and force fields, humans used kinetic weapons and heavy armor. Their ships were built like flying fortresses, designed to take massive damage and keep fighting. Admiral Korth was not happy about the idea of contacting an unknown species during a war. But he agreed that desperate times called for desperate measures. He authorized a small scout mission to investigate the Sol system. The mission would take several weeks to reach the coordinates. In the meantime, the war against the Void Swarm continued to go badly. More colonies fell. More ships were destroyed. The enemy kept adapting and learning from every battle. Zethkai found himself hoping that the old stories were true. That somewhere out in the quiet darkness of space, there really was a species of warriors who fought like legends. Because if humans were just myths, the Confederation might not survive long enough to find a real solution. He looked at the star charts one more time, focusing on the small yellow star labeled Sol. In a few weeks, they would know the truth. Either they would find empty space and broken dreams, or they would discover that legends could be real. The fate of the galaxy might depend on which one it turned out to be. The Forgotten System Captain Elena Vasquez sat in the command chair of the UEN's Endeavor, watching the alien ships approach on her main screen. 3 vessels, sleek and beautiful, with hulls that seemed to shimmer in the light of Sol. They moved in perfect formation, their energy signatures unlike anything in the human database. First contact protocols are active, reported Lieutenant Commander Park from his station. All weapons powered down but ready. Defense screens at minimum power. Elena nodded. They had been expecting this day for decades. The deep space monitoring stations had been picking up alien communications for over 50 years. The signals came from far across the galaxy, and the translation computers had worked for years to understand them. The humans knew about the Galactic Confederation. They knew about the different alien species, the trade routes, and the political structure. Most importantly, they knew about the war against something called the Void Swarm. But the aliens did not know about humanity. When the first radio signals from space had been detected, the world governments made a decision. They would stay hidden and watch. If the galaxy was full of peaceful traders, maybe contact would be good. But if there were threats out there, humanity wanted to be ready. The decision proved wise when the Void Swarm attacks began. The human military watched the alien battle reports and saw how the enemy adapted to every tactic. If Earth had revealed itself, the planet might already be consumed. Incoming transmission, reported the communications officer. They are using mathematical sequences and basic pictographs. First contact standard procedure. Put it on screen, Elena said. The main display showed a tall blue alien with 4 arms and large dark eyes. When it spoke, the translation computer provided subtitles in English. Greetings, unknown species. I am Commander Zethkai of the Alterian Fleet, representing the Galactic Confederation. We come in peace seeking communication. Elena took a deep breath. This was the moment that would change everything. Open channel. Full visual. The screen split to show Elena's bridge. She could see the alien commander lean forward in surprise when he saw her. Greetings, Commander Zethkai. I am Captain Elena Vasquez of the United Earth Naval Service. We have been expecting you. The alien's mouth opened in shock. You are human? You are real? Very real. And we know about your war with the Void Swarm. We would like to help. What followed was 3 days of careful negotiations. The alien delegation was amazed to discover that humans had not only survived on their dangerous world, but had built a powerful civilization. Earth had overcome climate change, developed fusion power, and created ships capable of traveling between stars. But what impressed the aliens most was human military technology. I do not understand, Commander Zethkai said during a tour of the Endeavor. Your weapons use metal projectiles instead of energy beams. Your ships have thick armor instead of force fields. This technology seems primitive. Elena smiled as she led him through the weapons bay. Different, not primitive. Our world taught us that simple things work better than complex things when everything goes wrong. She stopped at a display showing a railgun, one of the ship's main weapons. This fires a metal slug at 30% the speed of light. No energy signature to track. No beam to deflect with mirrors or fields. Just mass and velocity. But energy weapons are more precise, the alien commander argued. They can be adjusted for different targets. What happens when your power systems get damaged in battle? Elena asked. Energy weapons stop working. These guns run on separate power cells and can operate even if the main reactor is destroyed. The alien delegation spent hours examining human technology. Everything was built differently from galactic standard equipment. Human ships had multiple backup systems, manual controls for when computers failed, and armor that could take enormous damage. Your entire military philosophy is different, observed Zethkai. You plan for everything to go wrong. Because everything usually does go wrong, Elena replied. Murphy's Law is one of the first things we learn in the military. If something can break, it will break at the worst possible time. The aliens were also surprised by human tactical thinking. When shown recordings of Confederation battles against the Void Swarm, human strategists immediately spotted problems. They fight too honorably, said General Morrison during a strategy briefing. Every move is predictable. They announce their attacks, fight in formation, and try to minimize casualties. What would you do differently? Asked Zethkai. Morrison pointed to the battle display. Hit-and-run attacks, ambushes, target their supply lines. Make them fight in multiple places at once. Never give them a chance to adapt. The alien commander looked uncomfortable. Those tactics are considered dishonorable by galactic standards. We fight with courage and dignity. Dead heroes don't save worlds, Morrison said bluntly. The Void Swarm doesn't care about honor. They care about winning. If you want to beat them, you have to be willing to fight dirty. During the meetings, Elena learned about the scope of the threat. The Void Swarm had consumed hundreds of worlds. Their ships could adapt to any weapon or tactic within hours. The Confederation was losing the war and running out of time. How many ships can humanity provide? Asked Zethkai. Elena hesitated. The human fleet was large by Earth standards, but tiny compared to the galactic conflict. We have about 200 combat vessels ready for deep space operations. The alien commander's face fell. The Confederation has thousands of ships and we are still losing. Numbers aren't everything, Elena said. One ship used properly can be worth 10 ships used poorly. She showed him tactical simulations that human computers had run. Small human fleets using surprise attacks and unconventional tactics could do massive damage to Void Swarm formations. The key was not trying to fight fair. Your species thinks very differently about warfare, Zethkai observed. Where we see honor, you see survival. Elena nodded. Our world taught us that survival comes first. Honor is for the living. The negotiations concluded with an agreement. Humanity would join the war against the Void Swarm. In return, Earth would be granted full membership in the Galactic Confederation with access to alien technology and trade routes. But first, Elena would travel to the galactic capital to address the Council of Worlds. She would have to convince 43 different alien species to trust humanity's military judgment. As the Endeavor prepared to leave Sol's system for the first time, Elena looked back at Earth through the observation deck windows. The blue and white world had seemed so large when she was growing up. Now she knew it was just one small planet in a galaxy full of wonders and terrors. Humanity had spent 1,000 years in isolation, growing strong while the galaxy forgot they existed. Now they were about to remind everyone why the old legends had called them the most dangerous species in known space. The Void Swarm had adapted to fight civilized species, but they had never faced anything like humanity. Earth's children were about to teach the galaxy a new way to wage war. Elena hoped it would be enough to turn the tide. Because if human tactics failed, there might not be any galaxy left to save. The Art of War Admiral Sarah Chen walked through the corridors of the Galactic Council station, her military boots clicking against the polished metal floor. The station was enormous, built to house representatives from 43 different species. Some aliens were tall and thin, others short and wide. Some had fur, others had scales or smooth skin in colors she had never seen. All of them stared at her as she passed. "They are curious about you," said Commander Zethkai, walking beside her. "Most of them thought humans were just stories." "What kind of stories?" Sarah asked. "Warriors who could not be killed. Fighters who never gave up. Creatures from a world so dangerous that it should have been impossible for life to exist there." Sarah almost smiled. The stories got some things right. They entered the main council chamber, a massive room with seats arranged in a circle. Each species had their own section, with environmental controls suited to their needs. Some areas were very hot, others very cold. Some had thick atmosphere, others thin. The human delegation took their assigned seats. Besides Sarah, there was General Morrison, Captain Vasquez, and Dr. Reyes, a xenobiologist who had studied the Void Swarm data. "The Council recognizes Admiral Chen of the human species," announced the speaker, a tall crystal being whose voice sounded like wind chimes. Sarah stood and walked to the center of the chamber. 43 different species watched her with eyes, stalks, sensors, and organs she could not name. "Honored Council members," she began, "I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Naval Service. My species wishes to join your fight against the Void Swarm." A series of sounds erupted from the gallery. Some aliens made clicking noises, others hummed or buzzed. The translation system worked to convert everything into languages everyone could understand. "Human fleet numbers are insufficient," declared Representative Korax of the Zenthari Empire. His species looked like giant insects with sharp claws and compound eyes. "You have fewer than 300 ships. The swarm has consumed thousands." "Numbers are not everything," Sarah replied. "Strategy and tactics matter more than raw firepower." "Your technology appears primitive," added Counselor Vex of the Silicon Collective. Her species was made of living rock and metal. "Kinetic weapons and chemical propulsion are obsolete by galactic standards." Sarah activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber. It showed the last major battle between Confederation forces and the Void Swarm. "With respect, Counselor, your advanced technology is losing the war." The display showed Confederation ships in perfect formation, firing energy beams at the dark shapes of swarm vessels. The alien ships were elegant and fast, but the enemy adapted quickly to every attack pattern. "You fight predictably," Sarah continued. "Your formations are geometric. Your attack patterns are mathematical. Your tactics prioritize minimizing casualties and maintaining honor." She changed the display to show human battle simulations. The tactics were completely different. Ships moved in seemingly random patterns, used terrain and obstacles for cover, and coordinated attacks from multiple unexpected angles. "We fight to win," Sarah said. "Nothing else matters." The chamber erupted in protests. Many aliens seemed offended by her words. "Honor matters," shouted General Thrak of the warrior clans. His species looked like humanoid lions with bronze armor. "Victory without honor is meaningless. Tell that to the families on the worlds the swarm has consumed," Sarah shot back. "Ask them if they care about honor or survival." The arguments continued for hours. The alien representatives raised objections to human tactics that they considered dishonorable or barbaric. They questioned whether humans could be trusted with advanced galactic technology. Some suggested that Earth's species was too dangerous to be allowed into civilized space. Through it all, Sarah remained calm and professional. She had expected this reaction. Humans had spent centuries fighting each other before learning to work together. These aliens had enjoyed peace for millennia. They did not understand the harsh realities of total war. "Let me show you something," she said finally. The holographic display changed to show Earth. Not the peaceful blue world that most aliens associated. with habitable planets but the violent reality of humanity's birth world. Massive storms that could level cities, earthquakes that could split continents, volcanic eruptions that could change the climate, diseases that could kill millions, animals that hunted other animals for survival. "This is our home," Sarah said. "Every human alive today is descended from ancestors who survived this world. We did not become warriors by choice. We became warriors to survive." The chamber grew quiet as the aliens studied the images. Many of them came from worlds with stable climates and peaceful ecosystems. The idea of a planet that actively tried to kill its inhabitants was difficult for them to understand. "Your world made you into killers," observed Counselor Myra of the Peaceful Union. Her species looked like walking flowers with petals instead of faces. "Our world made us into survivors," Sarah corrected. "There is a difference." Dr. Reyes stepped forward. "If I may address the council," she activated her own display showing detailed analysis of void swarm biology and tactics. "The swarm is not like any enemy you have faced before. They are a hive mind with perfect communication and instant adaptation. Every ship they build learns from every battle they fight. Your conventional tactics cannot defeat them because they learn too quickly." The display showed how swarm forces had adapted to different Confederation strategies. Energy weapons led to improved armor. Formation tactics led to better coordination. Defensive strategies led to overwhelming offense. But adaptation takes time, Dr. Reyes continued. Even for a hive mind. If you present them with multiple contradictory, tactical patterns simultaneously, you can create decision paralysis. "Explain," requested the speaker. "Human military doctrine is based on chaos theory," Dr. Reyes said. "We use unpredictable tactics that appear random but follow underlying patterns. The swarm cannot adapt to something they cannot predict." General Morrison joined her at the display. "We call it organized chaos. Every unit operates independently but coordinates toward common objectives. No two battles are ever fought the same way." He showed examples of human military history. The tactics evolved constantly, adapting to new technologies and enemies. What remained constant was the willingness to do whatever was necessary to win. "You fight like barbarians," declared Representative Korax. "Yes," Morrison agreed. "And barbarians are very good at defeating civilized armies." The debate might have continued indefinitely, but it was interrupted by an emergency alert. The chamber's main screen activated to show Admiral Korth of the Confederation fleet. "Council members, we have a situation," he announced. "Long-range sensors have detected a massive void swarm force approaching the core worlds. Over 10,000 ships, including several new designs we have never seen before." The chamber erupted in panic. The core worlds contained the most important planets in the Confederation, including the capitals of several major species. "How long until they arrive?" asked the speaker. 18 hours, Admiral Korth replied. "All available fleets are moving to intercept, but our forces are outnumbered 3-1. Sarah stepped forward. "Admiral, request permission to deploy human forces in support of your operation." Several aliens protested immediately. Humanity had not been formally accepted into the Confederation yet. Their tactics had not been approved. Their technology had not been tested in real combat. "With respect to the Council," Admiral Korth said, "we need every ship we can get. If the humans are willing to help, I will take that help." The speaker consulted with the other Council members. After several minutes of rapid discussion in multiple languages, a decision was reached. "The human request is approved on a provisional basis," the speaker announced. "Admiral Chen, you may deploy your forces under Admiral Korth's command." Sarah nodded. "Thank you. We will not let you down." As the human delegation prepared to leave, Commander Zethkai approached Sarah. "Are you certain your tactics will work?" he asked quietly. Sarah looked at the tactical displays showing the approaching swarm fleet. 10,000 ships against 3,000. The largest battle in galactic history was about to begin. "No," she admitted. "But we are about to find out if legends can become reality." Steel and fire. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace like wolves entering a battlefield. 200 ships of war, each one built for violence and designed to survive. They were ugly compared to the elegant Confederation vessels, with angular hulls covered in armor plating and weapon clusters that looked like metal thorns. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UENS Indomitable, her flagship. The ship was the largest in the human fleet, a kilometer-long fortress bristling with railguns, missile launchers, and point defense systems. It had been built in the shipyards around Mars, forged from asteroid metal and powered by fusion, reactors that could burn for centuries. Confederation fleet is holding position at Kepler Station, reported Commander Park. Admiral, Korth requests our tactical assessment. Sarah studied the battle display. The Void Swarm fleet stretched across space like a dark stain. 10,000 ships of various sizes, all black and twisted with organic curves that hurt to look at. They moved in perfect coordination, flowing around obstacles like water. Send our analysis to Admiral Korth, Sarah ordered, and implement Battle Plan Omega. Battle Plan Omega was not like anything in the Galactic Military Handbook. Instead of organizing ships into neat formations, the human fleet scattered into dozens of small groups. Each group would operate independently, hitting different targets and using different tactics. This is chaos, observed Commander Zethkai, who had requested to witness the battle from the human flagship. How do you coordinate without formation discipline? We don't coordinate, Sarah replied. We improvise. The Confederation fleet was arranged in the traditional manner. Heavy battleships in the center, cruisers on the flanks, and fighters screening the formation. It looked impressive and orderly. It also looked exactly like every other galactic fleet formation in the database. The Void Swarm had seen this before. They began their standard response pattern, sending fast attack ships to probe the flanks while their main force prepared for a frontal assault. That was when the human fleet struck. The first attack came from above the galactic plane, where no civilized species would position ships. A squadron of human destroyers dropped out of hyperspace and fired a full spread of nuclear missiles into the swarm's rear formation. The aliens had shields designed to stop energy beams, but the missiles used kinetic penetrators that punched through barriers like they were not there. 12 swarm ships died in the first 30 seconds of battle. The enemy tried to adapt, turning ships to face the new threat. But the human destroyers were already gone, jumping back into hyperspace before the counterattack could reach them. Then the second wave hit from a completely different angle. Impossible, whispered Zethkai as he watched the tactical display. Ships cannot jump that quickly between hyperspace and normal space. Human ships can, Sarah said with grim satisfaction. We built our hyperdrives for hit-and-run tactics, not long-distance travel. The battle turned into something the galaxy had never seen before. While the Confederation fleet engaged the swarm in a traditional frontal assault, human ships appeared and disappeared like ghosts. They struck from unexpected angles, used asteroids and debris as cover, and employed tactics that violated every rule of civilized warfare. A group of human cruisers hiding behind a moon used gravity to slingshot themselves into the enemy formation at incredible speed. They rammed swarm ships deliberately, their heavily armored hulls crushing the organic vessels before exploding in nuclear fireballs. Another squadron used electronic warfare to confuse swarm targeting systems, then launched clouds of chaff and decoys that made it impossible for the enemy to tell which targets were real. The most shocking moment came when Captain Rodriguez of the UENS Vengeance deliberately detonated his ship's reactor core while surrounded by enemy vessels. The explosion vaporized everything within 50 kilometers, taking 30 swarm ships with it. This is madness, Zethkai exclaimed. He killed his own crew. His crew volunteered, Sarah said quietly. They knew the plan. They chose to die for the mission. The alien commander looked horrified. In galactic warfare, preserving life was considered more important than achieving objectives. The idea of deliberately sacrificing ships and crews was unthinkable, but it was working. The Void Swarm was designed to adapt to predictable tactics. When faced with the organized chaos of human warfare, their hive mind began making calculation errors. They could not predict what the humans would do next because the humans themselves did not know. Each human ship captain was given basic objectives but allowed to decide how to achieve them. Some used stealth approaches, others made frontal assaults. A few tried tactics that had never been used before in the history of galactic warfare. The swarm tried to adapt to ramming attacks, so humans switched to long-range missile bombardments. When the enemy adjusted their formation to counter missiles, human ships appeared at close range with kinetic weapons. Every time the swarm thought they understood the pattern, the humans changed it. Impossible, the swarm hive mind would have screamed if it could feel frustration. Their perfect coordination was becoming a weakness as they tried to respond to multiple contradictory threats simultaneously. The turning point came when Admiral Sarah Chen made a decision that horrified every alien observer. All ships, implement Berserker Protocol, she ordered. Across the human fleet, ships began powering down their defensive systems and routing all energy to weapons and engines. They were making themselves more vulnerable to increase their attack capability. Are you insane? Zethkai demanded. You are removing your ship's protection. We are accepting risk to increase damage output, Sarah replied. Sometimes the best defense is overwhelming offense. The human ships accelerated toward the swarm formation with everything they had. Some were destroyed by enemy fire, but the ones that survived hit their targets with devastating force. Railguns fired at maximum power, burning out their barrels but punching through swarm armor like paper. Missile launchers emptied their entire magazines in massive salvos that overwhelmed enemy point defenses. The UENS Indomitable led the charge directly into the heart of the enemy fleet. Its armor took incredible punishment as swarm weapons tore at its hull. Sections of the ship decompressed, systems failed, and crew members died at their posts. But the ship kept fighting. Hull breach on decks 12 through 15, reported the damage control officer. Fire on the port side. Reactor containment is failing. Emergency patches on the hull breach, Sarah ordered. Reroute power through the secondary systems. Manual fire control for all weapons. The crew worked with mechanical precision, following procedures drilled into them through countless training exercises. When automatic systems failed, they switched to manual controls. When compartments flooded with radiation, they sealed them off and found alternate routes. The aliens watching from the Confederation fleet could not believe what they were seeing. Human ships continued fighting even when they should have been destroyed. Crews operated in damaged sections without environmental suits. Officers manually aimed weapons when targeting computers went offline. How are they still functioning? Asked Admiral Korth over the communication channel. Those ships should be dead. Human ships are designed to take punishment, Sarah explained even as explosions rocked her bridge. Our crews are trained to fight in the worst possible conditions. The battle reached its climax when the largest swarm vessel, a bioship the size of a small moon, began charging some kind of superweapon. Energy readings suggested it could destroy the entire Confederation fleet with a single shot. All human ships target the command vessel, Sarah ordered. Everything you have now. What happened next became legend throughout the galaxy. Every surviving human ship turned toward the massive swarm vessel and fired simultaneously. Railgun slugs, nuclear missiles, plasma charges, and kinetic penetrators converged on the target in a storm of destruction. The command ship's defenses held for almost 10 seconds. When the bioship finally exploded, the detonation was visible from 3 star systems away. The remaining swarm vessels, suddenly cut off from their hive mind, began attacking each other in confusion. The Battle of Kepler Station was over. Of the 10,000 swarm ships that had attacked, fewer than 100 escaped. The Confederation had lost about 1,000 vessels, but they had won the largest victory in the war so far. The human fleet had paid a heavy price. 60 ships destroyed, thousands of crew members dead, but they had proven something important to the galaxy. Legends could be real, and sometimes the most dangerous species was exactly what civilization needed to survive. Legends made real 6 months after the Battle of Kepler Station. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The elegant Confederation fleets that once fought with perfect formations and honorable tactics now moved like predators hunting prey. Alien captains who had learned warfare from textbooks were studying human battle records and practicing what they called organized chaos. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the war room of the new Joint Command Center, built specifically to coordinate the combined fleets. The facility orbited a neutral star system and housed representatives from every species in the Confederation. But the most important section was the Human Tactical Training Center, where alien officers came to learn how to fight dirty. The Zenthari 3rd Fleet has reported another successful raid, announced Commander Park, reading from his datapad. They used human hit-and-run tactics against a swarm supply convoy. 40 enemy ships destroyed with minimal casualties. Sarah nodded with satisfaction. The insect-like Xanthari had been among the most skeptical of human methods. Now they were some of the most enthusiastic converts to asymmetric warfare. "What about the peaceful Union?" she asked. Admiral Myra's forces successfully defended the Harmony system using defensive ambush tactics. Park replied. The flower-like aliens were learning to fight like guerrillas, hiding among asteroid fields and striking when the enemy least expected it. The transformation had not been easy. Many alien species struggled with concepts that humans took for granted. The idea of sacrificing ships to achieve objectives was particularly difficult for civilizations that valued every individual life. But they learned, because the alternative was extinction. Admiral Chen called out Dr. Reyes from the intelligence section. "We have movement from the void swarm. Long-range sensors are detecting a massive buildup in the outer rim." Sarah walked over to the main tactical display, where a three-dimensional map of the galaxy showed enemy positions in red. Over the past months, the swarm had retreated from the core worlds and concentrated their forces in distant star systems. "Analysis?" she requested. "They are building something," Dr. Reyes said, highlighting several systems where swarm activity was extremely high. "Our best guess is a super facility, possibly for mass production of new ship types." Sarah studied the data. The swarm had been adapting to human tactics just more slowly than before. Their new ships had heavier armor to resist kinetic weapons, better sensors to detect stealth approaches, and improved coordination to counter chaos tactics. "They are learning," she admitted, "but we are learning faster." The past 6 months had seen rapid development in combined fleet tactics. Human creativity merged with alien technology to produce new strategies that neither species could have developed alone. Xanthari hive communication systems allowed for perfect coordination of chaotic attacks. Alterian shield technology was adapted to protect human ramming ships. Silicon collective processing power enabled real-time tactical analysis that could counter swarm adaptations. "Admiral," called Commander Zethkai from the communications station, "we are receiving reports from Scout Fleet 7. They have found the swarm's main facility." The main display changed to show long-range sensor data from the scout ships. At the edge of the galaxy, in a system with a dying red star, the void swarm had built something enormous. It was part factory, part fortress, and part living organism. Millions of swarm ships surrounded it like antibodies protecting a vital organ. "It's their central hive," Dr. Reyes breathed. "The source of their hive mind. If we destroy that, the entire swarm network collapses," Sarah finished. "They become just individual ships with no coordination." But the facility was protected by the largest concentration of enemy forces in the history of the war. Intelligence estimated over 50,000 swarm vessels, including new designs that dwarfed anything seen before. "The Confederation can assemble maybe 15,000 ships," Commander Park calculated. "Even with human tactics, those odds are impossible," Sarah agreed, "which is why we are not going to fight them conventionally." Over the next week, Sarah and her staff developed what would later be called the most audacious military plan in galactic history. Operation Prometheus would not try to destroy the swarm facility through direct assault. Instead, it would use the enemy's greatest strength against them. The plan required coordination between every species in the Confederation, using their combined technologies and tactics in ways that had never been attempted. Most importantly, it required a level of sacrifice that many alien cultures found difficult to accept. "You want us to do what?" asked Admiral Korth during the planning briefing. Sarah activated the holographic display showing the battle plan. "We create multiple false targets using the same energy signatures as our real fleets. The swarm's hive mind will detect what appears to be dozens of different attack forces approaching from every possible angle." "But the real attack comes from where?" asked General Thrak of the warrior clans. "From inside the facility itself," Sarah replied. The plan was insane by any rational standard. A small force of volunteer ships would allow themselves to be captured by the swarm, their crews appearing to be dead or unconscious. The bioships would bring the derelict vessels inside the facility for analysis and resource extraction. Once inside, the crews would revive and detonate pre-planted nuclear charges throughout the facility's core systems. The explosions would create massive chain reactions that would tear the structure apart from within. "This is a suicide mission," observed Counselor Vex of the Silicon Collective. Yes, Sarah agreed, and I will be leading it personally. The room erupted in protests. Admiral Chen was too valuable to risk on such a dangerous mission. The human fleet needed her leadership. There had to be another way. Sarah listened to all the arguments, then gave her response. For months we have asked alien crews to adopt human tactics, to fight dirty, accept casualties, and make sacrifices that go against everything their cultures taught them. Now I'm asking them to trust human leadership on the most important mission of the war. I cannot do that from the safety of a command center. The volunteers came from every species in the Confederation. Centauri warriors who wanted to prove their courage, Altarian scientists who believed in the cause. Even representatives of the peaceful Union who had learned that sometimes violence was the only path to peace. The final assault began 3 weeks later. Confederation fleets approached the swarm facility from multiple vectors, each one using different tactics to keep the enemy guessing. Some used traditional formation attacks, others employed human chaos tactics. A few tried completely new strategies that had never been used before. The swarm responded exactly as predicted. Their hive mind tried to adapt to all the different attack patterns simultaneously, creating the decision paralysis that Dr. Reyes had theorized about. In the confusion, Sarah's volunteer force allowed their ships to be captured. 20 vessels with crews who were prepared to die for the galaxy's survival. Phase 1 complete, Sarah reported from the bridge of her ship as it was pulled inside the massive bio-facility, beginning infiltration. What followed was 18 hours of the most dangerous mission in human history. The volunteer crews had to avoid detection while planting nuclear charges throughout the facility's vital systems. They crawled through organic corridors that pulsed with alien life, avoided sensor sweeps that could expose their presence, and fought running battles with swarm security forces. 12 of the 20 ships were discovered and destroyed before they could complete their missions. But 8 reached their targets. Charges planted, Sarah reported. All teams evacuate. Detonation in 60 seconds. Most of the volunteer crews did not make it back to their ships in time. When the nuclear charges exploded simultaneously throughout the swarm facility, the chain reaction was visible from neighboring star systems. The massive structure tore itself apart as its own energy systems fed the destruction. Millions of swarm ships died in the conflagration, including the central intelligence that coordinated their hive mind. Across the galaxy, the remaining swarm vessels suddenly stopped their coordinated movements. Without the central hive to guide them, they became individual creatures acting on simple instincts. Most fled toward the galactic edge. Others attacked anything nearby, including each other. The war was over. Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the rebuilt Kepler station, looking out at the combined fleets of the Galactic Confederation. Human ships flew in formation with alien vessels, their crews working together using tactics that drew from every species' strengths. The Council has approved the final integration protocols, reported Commander Zethkai, who now served as her liaison officer. Humanity is officially a full member of the Confederation with all rights and privileges. Good, Sarah replied. What about the military academies? Construction is proceeding on schedule. Every major species wants to build a training facility based on human tactical doctrine. Sarah almost smiled at the irony. For 1,000 years, humanity had been isolated and forgotten. Now they were teaching the galaxy how to fight. Species that had once called human methods barbaric were establishing military schools dedicated to organized chaos and asymmetric warfare. There is one more thing, Zethkai added.